Last December, while I was Christmas shopping, I found this really great deal to fly to San Francisco. So instead of waiting 2 to 3 weeks before the RWA conference and paying a lot more, I took the deal. I was proud of myself for being prepared. Then January came and the world started to fall apart. For us in the US, March 23rd was the day many states shut down, including mine and all the airlines. As you can see, we're far apart today. I've been fortunate that I don't have any friends or family members who are affected so far. And I hope that you and your loved ones are safe, healthy, and practicing all the protocols to keep them that way. So when I first came to my first RWA conference as a published author and sat at the luncheon table listening to the speaker, I fantasized about myself standing on stage and delivering a speech the same way she did. I think I even composed what I would say. Sadly, I don't remember any of that. As you know, if you don't write it down, those golden words are lost forever. So you'll get a new speech, not knowing that there was ever an old one. Of course, my imagination had me standing in person in a beautiful ballroom, dressed in a business suit, and looking out over 2,000 faces, waiting for my inspirational words. Since that's not happening, we adapt to what we need to do to put on this conference. So welcome to the Romance Writers of America virtual conference, and thank you for attending the keynote luncheon. If you're eating or drinking something at your computer, as dessert is often complete by this time, I hope it was sweet, gooey, and had no calories. One of the things that happened all those years ago while I was fantasizing and waiting to be asked to be the keynote speaker, I listened to many of those people who spoke before me. They talked about their life as a writer and what obstacles they overcame to be at this particular point in their careers. The speeches were inspiring. Each speaker gave us a piece of herself. They dealt with careers, aspirations, things they wanted to do, and all of the people that they came in contact along the way. We laughed and cried and felt the emotion in the words that we identified with, words that touched our hearts and souls. It was a routine that worked. But with the knowledge I've learned, I want it to be different. Yes, I want to touch you, inspire you, and give you a piece of me, but not give you my resume. Many of you have already heard it anyway. You know about my first sale. I met my editor here at an RWA conference, and a month later she bought my book. I struggled to keep writing and publishing while life happened, pulling me away from my love of storytelling, but I persevered and kept going. I like to think of myself as unique, and that means doing something that's never been done before. I think the pandemic provided that opportunity. The world has had pandemics before, not in my lifetime, not until now. But historical romance novels and a few textbooks have schooled me on the subject. However, this one is different. This one is unique. This time, we have technology. We have Zoom, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and all the other social media sites that keep us connected 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Never before have we been able to meet across continents, in different time zones, across writing desks, or even over the dinner table at the same time. And while we talk at our conferences, never before has the room been so quiet. But you're out there. I can feel your presence. To begin, I never thought of myself as a writer. It wasn't on my list of things to do with my life. Back when we were asked that question, what do you want to be when you grow up? My goal was to join a space program. I wanted to be the first female astronaut, but I wore glasses. There were a lot of restrictions back then about things that you could do, and I wouldn't qualify. Technology has lifted some of those restrictions. I don't know if you still need to have 20/20 vision, but I adhered to my friends' knowledge and didn't try. Then when I graduated from college, I wanted to go to Alaska and make my fortune. Salaries were horrendously high at that time, and the cost of living was the same. Salaries, cost, but I still thought I could do it. I was free, 21, and had not a care in the world. No children, no bills, no credit cards, not even a car. Those were the days. I was sure, though, if I put my mind to it, I could do it. I told my friends my goal. And as usual, I let them talk me out of it. At least after that, they packed up their dorm rooms and returned home, leaving me alone in Washington, D.C. No job, no apparent future, and at that point, very few friends. Just a creamy white degree that said I was looking to learn something that would keep me in food, clothes, and a roof to sleep under. Again, a dream discarded. I lived in D.C., as I said, where you could hear several languages just by crossing the street. One day it came to me. I wanted to learn a foreign language, French. And where's the best place to learn French? France, of course. So talking to females that a lot of us are, I proposed that I become an en par girl, essentially a babysitter. Go to France, absorb the culture, learn how to make croissants, and come home fluent in another language. Maybe I could even look like Julia Ormond and Sabrina. I don't think so. Anyway, it was a simple plan, right? Wrong. It seemed like a great idea to me. I wasn't planning to spend my life there, but French was such a romantic language, and the experience seemed exciting. But there were those pesky friends. They talked me out of anything I wanted to do that was different from their comfort zone. I didn't go. I got a job in the accounting department for an insurance company, and I made that the very last time I let anyone talk me out of doing something I wanted to do. So my first point to both new and seasoned writers is follow your dreams. Don't let anyone, and I mean anyone, talk you out of them. Of course, I wonder sometimes what my life would be like if I had gone to Alaska. Maybe someone out there in the audience can write a time travel or an alternate ending and let me know if this was the best time travel lane to get in. Since we've come to the subject of writing, why did you start to write? Most of us will say, I was a reader first, and that is the truth. But we also had people in our heads. We knew they weren't real, but they were real to us, and they had secrets. We didn't tell anybody they were there. Maybe we shared it with another writer, but that might have taken a while because when I started to write, I didn't know any other writers. I stayed in that writer's closet for years, keeping those people to myself, but visiting with them every night before I went to bed. One day, just as you did, I started writing down the stories the characters were telling me, but I kept that a secret too. I didn't want the ridicule. I didn't want people asking me if I was writing a great American novel. Of course I was. I didn't want them asking me if they had read anything I wrote. I didn't want to tell them that writing was a job and I couldn't go shopping. And I especially didn't want them asking if I had a real job. I knew people who got those questions, so I had stayed silent about my goal. When I first put pen to paper, and it was pen to paper at that time, and had the audacity to call myself a writer, only to myself, mind you, I felt as if I'd found something I loved. Before that, I'd written a lot of things, but never considered myself a writer. I wrote on the school paper, the yearbook staff, and wrote countless skits and plays we performed in high school, but that wasn't writing. That was participating. That's what my mind told me it was. It was only when I got a letter in college from a friend who said my letters were so full of life and emotion that she loved my storytelling that I thought, well, maybe I could be a writer. Still, I didn't think I was, and I went on to other things. The comment, of course, stroked my ego, but letter writing was something I did to stay in touch. Writing wasn't a job. Because you were here, you're already out of the writer's closet. We know you're a writer. So point number 2, ignore the ignorant. Those people who make snide remarks about you being a writer. They are jealous they can't put together a coherent sentence, let alone write a book. If you absolutely have to say something, Don't be that nice little girl you've been taught to be. Go for the jugular. Don't ask, but challenge them to write a short story so they can see how hard this process is. Give them a deadline of a month, then check in a week later and see if they've done anything. Bet they haven't. When they begin giving you excuses about time, kids, husbands, church, soccer, or whatever, you can smile and say, I do all those things, and I can write a book. Don't worry about losing a friend. They challenged your career. Ask them how they would feel if you challenged theirs. Now comes the editors. That's editors plural. And the editor is you. We're romance writers. We write about relationships. Some of us write about sex. We write good sex. No, we write great sex. Get your mother's voice out of your head. Do you really think she doesn't know about sex? Do you think she doesn't know that you know about sex? You're wrong. Don't let any of the voices that sit down with you when you write control you. Lock them outside the door. What will my minister say? Probably nothing. How many of you have been lectured by your ministers or other religious leaders on your writing? I've never been. And since I can't see or hear you, there are no answers. When authors are writing about serial killers, do you think they have "thou shalt not kill" written on the computer in front of them? Or consider what that author will think or what their mother will think? They're probably thinking about how much money they'll make if they add more grisly details. You can add more details, more love, more emotion, more relationship, more interaction between human beings. You can add this to your story. Point number 3, be true to the story. Don't censor yourself. Write what your story demands and forget about everybody else. The book will be better. The story will be great, and hopefully you'll sell thousands of copies. Then you can laugh at all those friends all the way to the bank. To tag on to the points of don't censor yourself and be true to your story, be true to yourself. Write what you want to write. And don't take no for an answer, even if that no is coming from within you. Don't tell yourself you can't do something. You can't write a book about, fill in the blank, whatever it is. Certain types of books may not be your forte. It's perfectly acceptable to not write something you don't want to write. But don't tell yourself or let anyone else tell you that you can't write something that you want to write. So if you want to branch out and write a different genre or go into women's fiction or write nonfiction, whatever it is that you want to do, give it a try. Take a chance. Nothing beats a try, but a failure. That's a cliche editors have cautioned us against using. So try. You be the person deciding if it works or not. To add another cliche, we regret 100% of the things we didn't try. And you don't want to look back on your life and say, I shoulda, woulda, coulda. I could have done that. But I let my family, I let my internal editor, I let my dog and my cat or my kids stop me from doing it. So I didn't try. Just like my friends who stopped me from doing things I didn't try. And I do regret some of them. I really would like to know what it would have been like to live in Alaska, even though I've read plenty of books on it. Point number 4, nothing beats a try but a failure. So try. Then there's the waiting game. I've heard this argument so often, it is nauseating. I have to wait until my kids get older. I have to wait until I retire. I have to wait for summer vacation. I have to wait until the kitchen's clean. I have to wait until it's quiet. Wait until whatever. There's no guarantee that tomorrow will come. Do it now. Stop waiting. If you only write 1 page a day, excluding weekends, in a year you have a book. Vivian Stevens told me that decades ago, and I adhered to it much of the time. Generally, I would write more than 1 page a day. But I knew that if I did nothing else, 1 page a day would get me through. So stop waiting and just do the work. Don't give yourself excuses not to write. Give yourself reasons to continue writing. Even now when it's hard, when the news comes in from all directions, give yourself a place in your books. It's a safe place to go. You can write what you want. Arrange a schedule so you can write. You're already out of the closet. I've said that 3 times. Don't ask your husband to watch the kids while you try to write. They're his kids. Tell him you're writing and he's responsible for this time. He can be responsible for other times too, but definitely while you write. So we as women tend to cater to all the needs of everyone in the family. Give that up. If you're not bleeding, if someone is not bleeding, everything else can wait. Put yourself on that priority list and make yourself first. You want to finish that book. You want to start the book. You want to do another book. Put your priority at the very top. You want to have something new for your critique group. You want to get a book to an editor, either traditional or freelance. You have goals, whether they are written or not. Put them at the top of the list and everything else is second. I'm not so cold that I don't show up at every play, sports match, or performance for my kids, but I need time too. So at a certain hour, it's my time and they cannot encroach upon it. So point number 5, do not disturb. Prioritize your writing time and don't give it up. Don't push it aside and say, well, I'll do that tomorrow. Nope, this is your writing time, you do it now. Don't wait for everything else to be done. You don't want to be shoulda, woulda, coulda. And the last point, it's so tempting to step across the line from being unpublished to being published. Try not to rush to publication. If you're working to get traditionally published, an editor will work with you, meaning they'll buy your book and suggest editorial changes. If you're self-publishing, go through all the steps. Assemble your team, an editor, cover designer, formatter, proofreader, marketing plan, and all the other people you'll need to make your product the best it can be. Don't use your critique group as your editor unless they are professionals. You don't want to shoot yourself in the foot when you produce a book. You don't want people giving you bad reviews. And I've been through all of those, so I know. This brings me to the final point, point number 6. Assemble all your ducks before you publish. Everyone who reads your story is not going to like it. That's human nature. Use your team to make your book better. Hire a professional. They'll make you look good and you'll sell more books. So to recap, since it's always good to know when the speech is coming to an end, be your own person. Follow your dreams. Don't allow others to rain on your parade or talk you out of doing something you're inspired to do. If you fail at it, you'll understand the experience and it'll give you fodder and authority for the fiction you write. Ignore the ignorant. They zap you of energy and the will to write. If you want to remain friends with them, don't let their voices in your head when you're writing. Tell yourself you'll show them and do it. Be true to the story. Write with honesty, not censorship. Write what you want. Make the decision, go for it. Don't wait for time or permission to write. Do it now. Remember, you don't want to look back and say, shoulda, woulda, coulda. If you're self-published, assemble your team. If you're traditionally publishing, work with your team and produce the best product you can. It's the best thing you can do. Finally, dream big. But don't just dream, act. Write the breakout book. It doesn't have to be a financial blockbuster, although we wouldn't turn that one down. It could be a breakout for you. You broke the line from being unpublished to published. You broke into a new subgenre. You broke down the walls that kept you from dreaming the big dream. Maybe you did write that financial blockbuster. Go, good for you. I want to leave you with a favorite quote of mine. Some people go to sleep and dream of doing things. Others stay awake and do them. Those are the 2 roads that Robert Frost talked about in his poem. 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Choose your road. Thank you.